What's the hardest thing of being both homosexual and Christian?
The hardest thing for me at least is trying to justify it to other people. Honestly, I don't really want to convince anybody anymore. I don't really feel the need to prove that I'm right. I really don't need to be right, But having to justify it for people who don't understand, like, hey, you can be gay and Christian, man. Is that even possible? Aren't you like going to hell? Oh my god, the number of times I heard that, right? I like having to remind them, it's not all about my sexuality, or it's not all about my faith, they can exist in harmony. Then having to get them out of that space where I can actually have a decent conversation without it being so judgy. I think that's the most hardest part. But of course, that is right now, right? In the past, it was all very reconciling issues, like how do I deal with myself? Am I really what people say I am, or is this really what's going to happen to me? So I think it's different at different phases, and where I'm at now is a space of complete peace with my faith and my sexuality. What about you?
For me, initially it was never really a struggle because I did a lot of research. Like I love to research stuff. So when other Christians tell me that being gay is wrong, I went to research on those Bible passages, like different theological interpretations of it, and that's when I found that a lot of people read things out of context in the Bible. So if you take something literally from the Bible, sometimes it might seem like it is wrong. But for me, like the homosexual passages in the Bible was about at that time the pagan practices that was frowned upon by Christians, and so part of those pagan practices was sodomy. But it was not it's not the way that gay people today conduct our relationships. Like we don't engage in sex acts to worship a god, Although when people say "oh God" in bed, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I just feel that it was easy for me to reconcile once I could get a balanced view between what the conservatives feel and what the more progressive Christians feel. And so it was never really a struggle internally, but the struggle was mostly external with, other Christians.
Okay. How do you still have faith in Christianity despite the discrimination you might have faced from some Christians for being homosexual?
Well, I guess this is a very apt question because my whole Christian faith journey has been like one huge up and down because of sexuality. When I was 17 years old, I encountered really strong Christian homophobia from my friends. There was this one guy who called me an animal, and it really hurt me. And in my clique then in school, all of them were Christians, and all of them turned out to be having the mindset that love the sinner, hate the sin. And when I found that out, because after knowing about my sexuality, they tried to ask me to change. It was very hurtful because they had known of my sexuality for months already. So I actually had a big meltdown. I screamed at them in the canteen and after all this time, this is how you feel about me. It still kind of haunts me to this day. When I meet people who are Christians, immediately I flinch because I got this kind of Christian phobia, a phobia of Christians because rejection from them, the strongest form of rejection from people I've ever had, that it just scares me to meet new Christians who might also react the same way to my sexuality. And so that experience was very difficult for me. I basically left Christianity for a period of time until at the same time I decided that I needed to find gay friends because all my friends have rejected me, my closest circle, and I know no one was gay. So I went to Pelangi Pride Center, where I met this boy who was from FCC, and he introduced me to the Free Community Church. It was such a big loving space of people who were so friendly, and the sermon that day was so apt for me. It just spoke right to me. The person giving the sermon that day was talking about their struggles with sexuality and how he reconciled it with God, and that was totally the message that I needed to hear that day, that it was possible to be Christian and gay. How would you describe heaven, and how do you think we can get there?
I think we're already in heaven. Really, I've learned to experience what heaven and hell is very in person in life. You know, those moments where I was away from God, where I was making all the stupidest mistakes of my life, that was actually hell. And I've come to realize there's really no need to define it as like burning in the ground below, because that's really what it did feel like. You know, at the same time, you know, when I experienced the reconciliation, those moments of bliss, of complete peacefulness with your surroundings, with your circumstances, with the people around you. That's heaven. That's heaven right there. So heaven is a space you bring with you to you, and something that you can interact with in your circumstances or your surroundings. What would you advise a person who is gay but believes that homosexuality act is wrong in the eyes of Christianity?
All my life, all the Christians around me, most of them have been largely unsupportive and intolerant. And so when this issue comes up, it triggers a lot of flashbacks to my own experiences in the past, where I encountered a lot of homophobia from Christian friends. So I tend to shy away from this topic because it just brings up all my past demons and very bad experiences. And so usually I maybe would not even bother to help, because going through those arguments again is very painful for me. So for someone who is struggling with that same question, I would actually recommend them to come to FCC and experience what it means to be a gay, affirming Christian, and who also practices his or her faith and is able to live as a gay person healthily. Like, it's not an either-or situation, that it doesn't have to be an either-or situation.
I relate very much to this notion, this concept of being gay or a homosexual act is wrong in the eyes of Christianity, because, well, like I said, you know, because when I first realized I was gay, I first discovered it, like, oh my god, it's a magical world. I was so eager, so excited that I told my cell group leader at the time, big mistake. Yeah, I told him at the time, and I faced so much backlash, you know. I was like, finally I feel like, hey, you know, this is really me. It makes sense now. Everything that I've experienced makes sense. Oh my god, I want to share it. But when I did, I got put down so much, you know, and they constantly told me about how it is not right in the eyes of God. It's not what God intended for me. This is just a phase. You're gonna pass it, or if you continue in this morally deviant lifestyle, God will abandon you. I'm like, wow. So I went through so much of that, and that self-hate actually like built in me until I rejected faith altogether. I said, if I had to choose between being gay or Christian, fine, I'll just choose being myself. Yeah, then I remember going home that night, trying to make a decision, and for the first time I actually broke down. And I never questioned my sexuality since I found out. I never thought it was wrong. I never thought it was that it shouldn't be the case. But for this first time, because I felt so much connection with the church, at the time I was going to, the people and to God, right? Finally, after so long, that the reconciliation happened. So I asked myself, like, am I really meant to be straight instead? You know, was I really not meant to be gay? And for the first time, there was these tears. I cried and I said, God, if I'm not meant to be gay, please cure me now. I don't want to go through this anymore. I got a message back, I suppose. You know, you don't really hear God's voice. That'd be kind of creepy. But the message I got back was that, AJ, I don't want you to be anything more than you are, anything more or less than who you are. So that was incredibly healing for me, because I felt like God saw me as I am. And you know, to him, it didn't matter. I'm just AJ.
How do you still have faith when the people from your own faith community are prejudiced towards your sexuality? This is the issue Elsa and AJ have explored deeply, and something I am sure many LGBT youths have struggled with. There was an enlightening scene when AJ recalled the time he was in crisis. The members of his church and cell group have rejected him because of his sexuality. That night, he prayed that God takes away his gayness, so he doesn't have to suffer anymore. He then had a moment which he describes as spiritual. He heard God telling him that he does not have to choose, that he can be both gay and faithful, and God will accept him no matter what. AJ described that moment as incredibly healing. That is what the church, the mosque, temples, and communities of faith should tell LGBT youths, that they do not have to choose. While the religions of the world debate scriptures and God's words, The Free Community Church in Singapore have been doing good work accepting LGBT people into their congregation. If God is indeed love, then this is the most loving thing a church can do. I am one, and this has been SG Narratives.